All right. Hey y'all. So in the carpool line, per usual, but so today I wanted to talk about. Okay, so um, my son was in private school, and we ended up having to move. This was in April, so we ended up having to move. Um, you know, Within that time, I had called. Onslow County. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Onslow County. I called them, to verify that, he would be good to go with switching from public or from private school to public school. They said, yes, he's good to go. Just get his transcripts and all that stuff, and then he can, transfer over to public school. So I was like, okay, cool. So, we moved where we moved to, well, to Onslow County. And when we got there, I had him registered and everything. So the day that he was supposed to start, we went up there. He had his book bag, everything. He was ready to go. And then they told us that he couldn't start that day because he was coming from a private school. But I'm like, I gave you guys all the information beforehand, and you guys already knew that he was in a private school, and I got the go ahead that he could transfer from a private school to a public school. Everything was good to go. Like I said, I got the go ahead. I would have never had gotten him ready for school and hyped up and all this stuff for us to get there and then them say that he couldn't start. So basically with that, the private school that he was going to, he was able to start kindergarten at 4. So his birthday is in September. They had to be 5 before September 30th. So, I enrolled him in school at the public or the private school, and he started going there. He was doing great and all that stuff. So like I said, we had to move. So anyway, Onslow County, like I said, I called them to verify everything, and they said yes, he's good to go. The day that he was supposed to start public school, they wouldn't let him start because technically he's not of age to start kindergarten in public school, but he was of age to start kindergarten in private school. So also, if he had finished kindergarten, then he would have been able to continue in public school. But like I said, I called Onslow County before we moved, and they said everything was good to go, that he would be able to start. So I wasn't worried about anything, because I was like, if that were the case, I would have figured out what I needed to do to stay where I was at so that he could finish kindergarten. Like, it was a freaking shit show. Onslow County School District, thank you very much. So anyway, so then I had to end up finding him. So like I said, it was in April. So then I basically had to find, he couldn't do anything until school was out, which was in June. So basically he was out of school from April, like the middle of April, to June. It was freaking terrible. Well, not terrible. It was terrible because, he should have still been in school during that time. So nothing was available because I didn't want to put him in preschool because he's already, like, I'm not going to backtrack for him. So, yeah, so he basically, he was at home every day until summer camp started. And then when summer camp started, I put him in summer camp right away. So he was doing, we were doing schoolwork throughout the, days that we were at home. And then I would try to find something for us to go do so he wouldn't be in the house every day and all that stuff. So, it worked out. I thanked the Lord when camp started, though, because I needed a break. So, okay, summer camp started. He was going there. He loved it and all that stuff. So the school that I was trying to enroll him in, or had enrolled him in, they were saying, okay, well, we'll do testing and all these things because, he should be going to first grade when the school year starts. So I was like, okay, cool. So, he was all set up to, do the testing and all that stuff, but we ended up moving. So I, enrolled him in a public school where we moved to. And since I was kind of cutting it close for the school year starting, he wasn't able to do the testing before. beforehand. So I already knew, like, he's already done kindergarten basically. He only had like a month left of kindergarten. So I was just like, I mean, this is going to suck for the teachers because he thinks he knows everything already, but for him to be in a class, like, he already knows how to read, he already knows how to do math, and all these things he already knows how to do. And for him to have to like do it all over again, I just knew that he was going to be a distraction in the class, possibly, you know what I'm saying? But so anyway, I reached out to his teacher because the private school that he was going to, like the second week of school, they had homework. They did spelling tests, kindergarten, okay? They did spelling tests. They were reading. They were doing math, all these things. They had homework the second week of school. So when he came to public school, which I love the public school that he's going to, by the way. So when he started going here, they, didn't get any homework. So I was like, are you telling the truth? Because you used to have homework every day, So I had sent his teacher a message, and she was like, yeah, we don't give them homework in kindergarten. I was like, dang. So I just feel like, of course I already do stuff with him at home, to keep him on track and all that stuff. But I'm just like, I feel like, like in my soul, I felt like I need to talk to somebody because I feel like he shouldn't be in kindergarten. He should be in first grade, if not second grade. But I just know that I just felt like he was wasting time in kindergarten. So anyway, the moral of this story is definitely advocate for your children. But the reason why I'm saying this is because they had the testing. What the teachers? I think it's called ALS, something like that. They had a testing where they, test all the kids to make sure that they're, I guess, where they're supposed to be. Now, when he did the testing, everything was way above average. And it said on the paper that he's above the grade level. So I sent his teacher a message and I was like, okay, so I'm reading all these test scores that he did, and the goal that it had, he was way above the goal. So I'm like, what? Can he not be moved to first grade? Because I just feel like he's wasting time, like, redoing kindergarten, basically, So, I'm glad I asked this question because his teacher was like, well, yeah, one thing she was saying was, like, when it comes to him sounding out words, he struggles with that because what he does is he tries to say the word instead of sounding out the word. So as an example, if it was like that, he might say this, but then he'll be like, no, that, So instead of him sounding out the word first, he'll just say the word, thinking that it could possibly be the word. But anyway, so that's how his mind works. It works for him. But yeah, she was just saying that he doesn't sound out the words. For the most part, he knows the word, so he'll just say the word instead of, like I said, sounding out the word. So that was a part of the test. They had to sound out the word, show that you can sound out the word. So, like I said, he doesn't sound out the word, he'll just say the word. So, yeah, so that was one thing that was the only thing that he got average on. Everything else was way above average. So I'm pretty sure, like, in first grade, they're already doing those things. So I just feel like he should be there doing that stuff so he could, like, keep going instead of backtracking. But anyway, like I said, his teacher agreed with me, and she said that she was gonna reach out to, like, the principal and the administrative people to see, like, what needs to be done or what can be done for him to be put in first grade. So yeah, it's just something that I've been thinking about, like, every day, because I'm like, okay, you don't have homework, you don't have homework, you don't have homework. When are you gonna have homework? And then, like I said, I found out that they don't have homework in kindergarten. But I'm like, I mean, he already knows these things. And then even the stuff that he brings home on Fridays, I'm just like, you already know this stuff. And, he's filled everything out. So anyway, hopefully I'll hear something within the next couple of days back from his teacher, who I love. But hopefully I'll hear something back from her, regarding him going to first grade, him being moved up to first grade. And we'll go from there. Like I said, I love the school that he's going to. I love his teacher. But I know for sure he needs to be in first grade, or maybe even second grade. But he, that boy smart. Like, seriously, not because he's mine, but he really is. But anyway, I don't want to hold him back. And I know that he should be in a higher grade than what he is. But anyway, like I said, advocate for your children. If you know something's not right, definitely look into it. Anywho, see y'all later. Bye-bye.